Flexibility is something that a lot of players overlook, in particular when they're trying to build upper register. It might be something that they sort of neglect. So we just want to make sure that you realize that it is an important aspect of playing the trumpet, and it helps facilitate both the upper register and also the lower register, and bridging the gaps in between, and facilitate moving from low register to high and back down.
Yeah, and it also helps with your alignment. And when we're talking about alignment, we're talking about your lips, your teeth, your jaw, your horn angle, your airstream direction, all those things. Your angle and alignment absolutely must be in balance, you know. Another suggestion is to try to not move your chops around any more than necessary. A lot of people you'll find, you know, they're moving octaves and they're bouncing around and moving their mouthpiece all over the place. This extra movement not only tires you out, but it can lead to spread chops and other issues. So by economizing your lip motion as much as possible, you stand a much better chance of playing evenly and smoothly and centered. And tongue arch also helps with economizing your motion. And a good example of a great player that has a real economy of motion is the great Al Vizzuti.
Absolutely, he's amazing. So when you're practicing these exercises, make sure that you're not bumping the air, because we can sort of force the vibrations to happen. But the exercise of flexibility and trying to keep that airstream really steady and gentle throughout, and ride it like a surfboard on a wave. You want to use that air to help facilitate those changes of register and from harmonic to harmonic. So I'll give an example of both bumping and not bumping the air. So what I mean by bumping is an extra burst of air. So you don't want to go, I'm like that. I'm pushing to get each of those harmonics to come out. So what you want to do is just use the air to, again, like ride it like a wave at the beach. It also helps speed things up because you're not moving as much. Like Bobby said, keep the economy of motion down to a minimum.
Yeah, and both Paul and I, we have a good friend. He's a great trumpet player over in Florida named Mark Zaus. And this is one of the most important points in his teaching, and he's told us in his own personal playing, is just having a super steady airstream. You can also think about blowing right into the note, all the way through the note. You can think about blowing through your valves, and maybe even blowing out many, many feet in front of the horn. These are all mental techniques, imagery that you can use to help keep your airstream steady.
So one of the things that helps facilitate moving from one register to the next and from one harmonic to the next is using your tongue arch and different syllables as well. So if you're following or have followed the Louis Maggio method, he talked about ah as the syllable you use for the very bottom of the horn up to about a B flat on the third line or so. Ah, and then when you get up to about that register, the tongue arch, if this is your tongue here, would start to arch a little bit more. The difference between saying ah and a. I. So the A, according to Maggio, kicks in about a B flat, third line, up to an E flat at the top of the staff. And then at that point, conveniently, you switch to an E syllable on the E at the top of the staff. So A, E, like that. And then above that, the E goes up to maybe a high B flat or a B. And then according to Maggio, again, it goes to a TICH. And that should sound something like like that. So the tongue arch has gone from ah to A to E. And then if this is the back of your throat and this is where your teeth are, you roll the tongue arch forward for the TICH, the tss, like that. So you get a little tongue arch there right towards the front of your teeth to really get that syllable to sound like tss, like that.
And for me, I'm just going to make one quick comment. A lot of people like oh or ah in the low register. I read a really interesting book all about Bud Herseth, and he talked about he never uses O or ah down in the low register. And I'm talking about low C and below. He always used A, like AY, he explained it, not I, but A. And for me, I find that that really helps center my low notes a little better than O or ah. And I'll do a little demo of that right now. I don't know if you could hear the difference, but to me, when I do the A syllable, I started with the O and then I went to the A. It feels much more centered to me when I'm down in that real low registered. I don't know if you could hear that at all or not, but the first one I did was an O and the second one was an A syllable, and it just feels a lot more vibrant and a lot more centered to me.
I noticed a difference as well. Yeah, it was more focused on the those lower notes.
Well, syllables can be really individualized, for our the way we're made up as individuals. And something to just consider is your upper palate shape, which is a point that's often missed by a lot of people. We all have a different shape of upper palate. Some are very high, some are a little more flat. And reportedly, Maynard had a lower upper palate, which allowed him to compress his air through a smaller chamber, which probably helped his high range.
So there's a lot of flexibility books out there you can get your hands on. Charles Colin, there's one from quite a number of years ago, Earl Irons, excellent book. Scott Belk has a new twist on a lot of the sort of classic flexibility exercises as well. So get your hands on any of those, but it's most important what you do with the air and how you approach the flexibility exercises that will get the most benefits.
Yeah, so remember, it's not what you play, but how you play it.